Here we go. Here we go. Ready to talk about the Pokemon.
Yes, all the Pokemans.
Every single man's that was ever a Pokey.
Yes,
All
all the
right.
Pocket Monsters.
All of the Pocket Monsters.
Oh. So, how
Yeah.
about that Pokemon Center?
Yeah, exactly. So we are here today to talk about our work with preserving the distribution machine at the Pokemon Center in New York. So this happened how many months ago now? A while ago.
That was a while ago. That was, oh my God, I don't even remember. I could look, but it was a while ago.
Let's say it was 5 years ago, and it was probably like 6 months ago. Is probably what
No,
it was.
yeah, it was around like 6 months ago,
Yeah.
I think. Probably around.
And it was probably like a 3 or 4, maybe 3 month project for us.
No, definitely. Because it was like the 2 videos, but then also like everything else on top of that.
Yeah. So basically, I'm showcasing some footage here in the bottom left corner here of the Generation 2 distribution sort of boot up. Basically, it runs in a loop here, and the Pokemans pop out of their Pokeballs and such, and you get these nice little animations and floating around. And so that's what that's from. But essentially, what happened was that we were blessed enough to be able to help preserve some content that was thought to be otherwise completely lost to time. So Ellie will get into this in a moment, but essentially the Pokemon Center in New York had a distribution machine. They were these kiosks, A, B, and C. And then you could take your cartridge if there happened to be a certain campaign or event or special thing going on and acquire special Pokemon that would then say the original trainer was from Pokemon Center New York. Now, the reason why this is important to preserve it is because the software was thought to be lost to time. A lot of the trades and transfers were on cartridges with failing batteries, if they hadn't already failed. And the ones to still exist, people were selling them for like a couple $100 each. Like not a particularly rare Pokemon, but it just happened to be PCNY. And they would be selling it, whatever, like a Mareep or what have you, $200.
There you go.
So this is kind of the story about how we destroyed the Pokemon Center New York black market.
Yay.
So if you're interested in, fair market Pokemon trading, this is this will be for you. So
Yes.
but before we jump into the history, which Allie will be covering and did a ton of friggin' work on, and also I'm not qualified to do because she knows way more about Pokemon than I do. We want to mention a giveaway that we're doing.
Yes.
Actually, I think I have the cart.
You got the cartridge?
Here. Yep.
There it is.
There we go. Let's see here. Okay, so here we go. We have Pokemon Sapphire. This is one of the cartridges that we utilize to test with the writer. Testing. Is everyone seeing this message? Yep. We see the message.
Hello.
I'm going to say I double see it. No, I
Oh, there you are. Yep. Oh, hello,
see
everybody.
it.
What's up?
I love you. And then the commenters will be like, what? What's happening? Why? GameCube. Okay, yeah. So anyways, back on track, Tony. Pull it together. So we have Pokemon Sapphire Gen 3. This is one of the cartridges that we utilized to test the unit and the software. And so this has, I think, like 5 or 10 PCNY Pokemon on it. And, instead of just sitting here with me, I figured you guys might be able to enjoy it more. I have my copy of Crystal that I transferred a bunch of stuff to, and I actually played through the game and enjoyed that, but I'm probably not going to play this, so maybe you guys can own it instead. So, Allie, do you want to explain how we're running this contest?
So basically how this is going to work, and before I say this, I know some of you guys already sent in some emails, so if you did, just let us know what your name is, so we know we can match up to the person in chat and the person with the email. But basically, send us a picture of your Pokemon collection. This can be anything from like the cards or the games or something crazy or really unique that you own, or maybe the most expensive thing that you own. Take a picture of that and have like a piece of paper on the side with your name, username, and the date, so we know that like we can verify that it's you for like authenticity. You didn't just Google the picture. And you can email that to either of us or both of us. We both have our emails open, so we'll see them. And I know we've already gotten a couple already, but basically we'll pick like the one that we think is the coolest, and that person will win the cartridge. And also, obviously, you have to share with Tony your shipping address to get it to you.
Yes,
so,
preferably.
So that's pretty much how that works. So feel free to send those in, and we'll pick the winner probably later, right?
I think it might be a little too much to do it now. I think we'll try to showcase what we can on screen, but I think maybe tomorrow or Monday or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that makes sense. Just so people can get their stuff in. But
yeah, exactly. So definitely do that. But again, I know Allie mentioned this, but people, when we tweeted it, like we gave the criteria, and people were already not listening. So please put your username or some sort of verification. You know, like in our last stream that John and I did. Hello. He basically, we were getting like people who sent in videos, or maybe like had us in the background or something like that, just some sort of verification that you were a part of UPLINK, right? Because we want to make sure that this is something special that we're doing for you guys that attended our panel, and not just some rando Twitter
giveaways on Twitter.
You gotta be like, hey, selfie.
Hey!
Yeah, exactly.
Is John opening spam again?
Yeah, exactly. John and I did a panel. Now he's chilling, playing some Switch, and then we're gonna do an episode later for anyone wondering who he is or why he's here. But so those are the criteria. So if you want them sweet Pokemons,
yes.
Which, by the way, if you don't win, part of our preservation efforts, I took all of the save files from this, my Ruby and Crystal, and made them available in the description of our video. So go to the Hard4Games, and I think Allie, there's some in yours as well. Yeah. But if you go to our Pokemon Center New York videos, watch them if you haven't. But check out the description. There are save files that you can apply to emulation, or you can flash onto an actual cart and use and play with Pokemon Center New York Pokemon if you don't get the real thing. But this has kissed the lips of the Pokemon Center New York writer, which is what makes it special, but simultaneously kind of only in our minds. So speaking of the Pokemon Center New York, which is the whole point of this whole thing, Allie, do you want to talk a little bit about the history? And I'm gonna end my video and play
some of the clips.
video.
Yeah, I'll let me know when you're good, and I'll.
I'm good whenever you are. Yeah.
I'll just sort of read through. Got some little notes here just so I remember everything, because it's a lot. But basically, for anybody that doesn't know, Pokemon Center New York, also known as like PCNY, that's its abbreviation. It was, if you guys know about Nintendo World or Nintendo NY, that's where the Pokemon Center was. Also in advance, if you guys hear a lawnmower outside, sorry about that. But it was in Rockwood Plaza. Somebody's mowing the lawn. There's construction, whatever. So basically, they made this store because they really wanted to capitalize on the popularity of Pokemon back in the day with Pokemania. And this was actually the very first Pokemon Center to open outside of Japan. And it was the third one that was opened overall. But pretty much what the Pokemon Company wanted to do, or I guess back then it was Pokemon USA, they wanted to emulate the Pokemon Center in Japan. They wanted to emulate the success of those because, as you guys probably know if you're watching this panel, those stores are really popular. They have a lot of really cool merch and events. So they really wanted to do something like that here. And the store was completely run by the US branch of the Pokemon Company. It was overseen by the Pokemon Company in Japan. So they had a lot of oversight on the store itself. So the store opened in, bless you, if that was a sneeze or a cough, I don't know.
It was a cough. I drink so much caffeine that I have like acid reflux. So like I'm constantly like like clearing my throat. So I'll try to turn away. I'll mute myself next time. Sorry.
So it was open, November 16th, 2001. So basically this store really just hasn't been super well documented for a lot of reasons. It was just a really short run in general for the store. Back in like the early 2000s, you know, we didn't have like really nice cameras on our phones. We all had like the brick phones or the flip phones.
Flip flops.
So just the technology, you know, just wasn't there. So I guess just to go in depth a little bit on, you know, what was in the store. So on the first floor, you know, you had all the merchandise, you know, you can go and check out, go to the cashier or whatever. They had a bunch of animatronics of Pokemon that were like, you know, hanging from the ceiling and all this crazy stuff. They held TCG tournaments at a location near the store back in the day. You know, they had plushies everywhere. They had an interactive Pokedex, which was really cool. There was also some other stuff that we talked about in the video, so I won't go too much into it. There were some other like interactive features that were supposed to be a part of the store that just didn't happen, or they didn't upkeep them because that cost money. But the main thing that, you know, we're here to talk about, on the second floor of the store, there was the Gotta Catch 'em All machine, which is basically the distribution machine for these event Pokemon. It was basically this display where you could bring Pokemon Gold, Silver, or Crystal for event distributions from around November 2001 to March 2003. And then the Ruby and Sapphire Gen 3 events started around August 2003 to December 2004. So basically, you put your cartridge into the GameCube, and keep in mind, these are like the special like NR GameCubes, right? The teal ones. So
yeah, NR discs.
Yeah. You would put it in there into one of the stations. So like Tony said, there was ABD or A, B, C, and D. So there's 4 of them, which, you know, we'll probably talk about more of that later. You just stick it in there and you get a special event Pokemon. So how all of the Pokemon were determined, you know, there are different themes and different durations for each event distribution. And this was decided by the Japanese Pokemon Company. It was mainly to coincide with like Pokemon lore, or like, you know, special movie releases, or like US holidays, apparently. But apparently, you know, if they didn't have any ideas, they did ask the employees at the store for suggestions that did end up being okayed, which is pretty cool to find that out. But yeah, that's sort of just like the lowdown on it. That's like a general summary for anybody that doesn't know what the heck we're talking about. But we're going to go more into like sort of how this came to be, and, you know, all the preservation efforts that we've been going through, and all the stuff we've been doing with Project Pokemon, and yeah, just doing like a whole rundown of everything. And if you guys have questions, if you have questions of stuff that wasn't covered in the video, you know, feel free to ask as well. Yeah, that's my ramble.
That was a good ramble. That was good.
Yay.
Real quick, I want to jump over back to the contest because we had some pretty interesting submissions.
Oh wow, I have a ton of emails.
And I know some of you guys are sending us emails and then also mentioning in chat, but I don't know if we're going to have access to like a log of this chat later. So definitely put your username in the email proper. So we just have some sort of verification. Even if you already sent it, you can send a reply and be like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I did write down, was it Jake's? Because that one struck me in particular. So I do know that that was you. But I just want to show these, see if they can appear on my phone. But
oh, whoa.
Yeah, that's kind
that's
of
cool.
See if I can get
oh my god.
Sometimes you have to just bring it back just a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Oh
got,
my
like, this whole
god.
display. He's got a bunch of not for resale carts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ton of really cool stuff. I'm having trouble with like this being mirrored, so I'm like I keep tilting it one way and it keeps going another way.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody in chat asked, is there any video of the Pokedex available? I haven't seen any, but I think we had a picture of it in the video.
Yeah. So this one is pretty cool. These are
whoa, that's
Pokemon
cool.
cards in like a really nice frame with the you know, the Pokeball in the background.
What the heck?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Cool.
I mean, that's kind of a contender right there.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of, to answer the question about the Pokedex thing again, too, like I said, there's, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but there's been conflicting reports about whether you could take pictures in the store or not. Because we've heard from some employees that you could, and we heard from other employees that you couldn't. So we were, or at least like the theory that I had was like, maybe when the store first opened, they didn't allow photography, and maybe later in the store's lifespan, when they stopped caring, they let people take pictures, because there seems to be a lot more pictures from the Gen 3 era versus Gen 2. But
yeah.
anyway.
I'm going to quickly see if I can get a better shot of this. Here we go. So this will be a little delayed for you, but this is the Pokemon Go Fest content. Oh, that's my box. There's so many boxes in OBS. I keep clicking on everything. But I'm trying to blow this up that was sent over. This is a really nice display case for Pokemon Go Fest memorabilia and like all sorts of stuff.
That's awesome.
Really nice. That's really cool to see. Now I have to go through my list of like 35 things that I have up here and get rid of it. There we go. Okay. Excellent. Hang on. Now I gotta move this. Oh, there's so many things. I keep moving the wrong box. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm such a dummy. Like, I can't. You think that I'd have this down by now, but obviously I don't. So we're just gonna have to deal with it. Excuse me. You might be wondering, how did we come across this, basically? So if you had joined our previous panel, the Hard4Games specific panel, a lot of people will contact us, and we will, they'll be like, hey, I have X, Y, and Z. Can you do anything in terms of preservation? And there's been a lot of content on my channel where I've backed up NR discs. So NR discs are, as we mentioned earlier, are the proprietary GameCube development disc format. So that's kind of a mouthful, but basically in simpler terms, they're like DVD-Rs, DVD minus Rs. They're like of a specific, you could see them on screen now, like specific niche little mini DVD minus R with like the purple back that you can write to. And it kind of sucks because they're not professionally printed. So they like die out just as easily as the stuff you and I were to burn from that era. So, I don't know if you've revisited anything that you have that you've attempted to burn, like when you I was in 2000, I was a freshman in high school. So I try to look at some of the stuff and it's like just nothing reads. So a lot of that stuff has just been completely and totally lost to time, unfortunately. So there's kind of this thing where like collectors and people that have this type of content are like, well, geez, I really need to do something with it before it just rots away. Unless you're a complete hoarder, like we also mentioned in the previous panel, where they're like, yes, let it rot away. Like I will be the last person to smell the NR disc as it fades into oblivion, which I think some people really enjoy that aspect of collecting is being terrible. But anyway, so a person had contacted me and then said, hey, I have these NR discs. I have this writer, which was used for this event distribution. And I have these memory cards, which were to put into an NR reader. So an NR reader is like a GameCube, but it can read NR discs and not vice versa, right? So you need the specific tech and you need a specific reader to be able to dump it, and it's annoyingly complicated at first to get it set up anyways. Yeah. And so I was like, I don't know anything about Pokemon. I mean, I know a little bit, but like, I played Red, like, I don't know. So I kind of sat on it for a minute, and I'm like, okay, I am interested in this, but I got these projects I got to take care of, blah, blah, blah. Let me circle back around to you like in a month or so. So he contacts me in a month again. And he's like, hey, are you still interested? I'm like, yeah, let me contact Allie first about this. I don't know. Because I just didn't feel qualified to talk about it, and I was like, I don't know, but I'm like, it might be good to have some Pokemon stuff on the channel. And, maybe Allie has heard of this. And she's like, that's like a holy grail item. Yeah. Like you need to get this, and that, get that shipped to you like right now. Yeah. And like this needs to be preserved. Like holy crap.
Because you never think that this kind of thing would pop up.
Yeah.
That because at least from like the memory cards and the software and all the hardware and everything, like this wasn't supposed to be something that I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Nintendo and Pokemon they're very protective of their IP. No. As we, you kind of mentioned earlier, the GigaLeak stuff. But anyway, but I feel like this is a little bit of a unique case just because, it's this very unique / special event distribution for a specific location. Yeah. Yes, I'm sure, from what we've seen from certain leaks, we know that they preserve some of this stuff. But in terms of the actual physical thing, the public was never meant to like outside of redeeming the distribution, you weren't really supposed to like see it, interact with it. So the fact that like someone had the foresight, back in the day to be like, this is kind of important, then it's really nice because now everybody gets to see it and we get to preserve it. And it's just really cool. As somebody that's obviously, and I'm sure you guys are too, that's really into this stuff, like the fact that it managed to like stick around for like what 20 something years, like that's or 19 years, that's wild.
yeah exactly. And we were mentioning NR readers. Someone posted a picture. Jacob posted NR reader in the chat, and we got John Riggs here, which in each one of his videos he goes, hey, you got John Riggs here. So I wanted to say that back to him, but hello, how are you? But yeah, so it was interesting because she's like, yeah, you got to get this now, right? So I got the content, and we'll talk about, you can see it on screen because the video is playing, but I'll go through exactly what it was in just a moment here. But basically, I was able to dump the NR discs and make a physical backup and also a digital backup of each one of the GameCube memory cards. But I don't really have the ability to like dive through the data and see what that means. So then Allie communicated with Project Pokemon, or the Project Pokemon event research team, and they started digging like deep into this content to be able to find and preserve lost campaigns and such. So before I go any further, I just want to say like what exactly was involved in all of it in terms of like physical things. Although I guess I should back up and say that the individual who had this, should I say how he acquired doesn't matter anymore. I'm not going to say who it is.
He knows a guy.
Yeah, he knows a guy, and he got it, and the Pokemon Center was shutting down, and there was a mad dash by certain people to protect the contents of it. And that's all that happened. And don't you worry about it. All right, so I'm gonna pull up some stuff here. Here we go. So there are a couple of things that made this go. So we already saw the video that had some pretty good images of the NR discs. Now the NR discs are basically the software that it boots up on the NR reader on the GameCube. That's the distribution software. It houses all of the Pokemon that are available to receive. And of course, you need to be able to put your cart in somewhere. So what you see on the right-hand side next to the Game Boy Advance is the writer, which is basically a Game Boy Advance, but very sneakily, it's not.
Yeah, this is the weird. As somebody like, I'm not really like super obviously involved in the tech part of it, but even like hearing like what everybody, like Gridlin, everybody was saying, like it seems very confusing.
Yeah. So all of the contents have been sold by the original owner and are now in the hands of the Project Pokemon event research team, which is a really good thing because they're continuing to dive into it and see what makes all of this tick. And the writer, I was able to dump the BIOS because you can relatively easily dump the BIOS of like a Game Boy Advance. And the BIOS is the exact same as a Game Boy Advance, but there's something different about that because you can't use a Game Boy Advance as a writer. And you can't use... they're not interchangeable in this particular setup. Like, it recognizes it and it tries to boot, but it never fully boots. So this writer is this super proprietary piece of tech that, although we have the software and although we have the save files and all of these things, we can't distribute Pokemon en masse other than just digitally without understanding how this functions and how to replicate it, whether it's worth replicating or not. But it's just a very bizarre piece of tech.
Yeah,
basically.
I guess too, to mention real quick, like regarding the hardware and the software and everything. So, there's a PogChamp in the chat. With the discs, there's two discs. So the first one obviously was for the Generation 2 distributions, which Tony was playing earlier, and as you guys have seen in the video or saw in the stream, it was a lot prettier and more well done, and like used the Pokemon Stadium models, and they obviously put a lot of effort into it. And then this other disc was for Gen 3, and obviously that one doesn't look as pretty. It just looks like an in-game trade, which I believe our guy said it looks like an in-game trade because they wanted it to look like that, like more in line with the game games, which makes sense. And then the other thing about the writer, on the writer, it says like Pokemon Distribution Machine 2, right? It says it on there. So if you guys don't know, obviously there were event distributions before this happened, but we kind of were theorizing about like, oh, maybe, I'm trying to remember the specifics, but because this is off the top of my head, but we were thinking like, oh, maybe, you know, the SNESs with the Super Game Boys that they used for Mew and like Celebi, maybe that's like #1. And then this is like another revision on top of that because it would make sense. We kind of went really in depth in it on Discord. I'm blanking on the details, but
or like a Game Boy Color that's been modded. Like you know how this is kind of like a Game Boy Advance that like the guts are Game Boy Advance, but at the same time there's some other unique things. Like it could have been a Game Boy Color. Like because when they transitioned from Gen 2 to Gen 3, they probably updated the writer. Right. So, but I have a little picture on screen here that where you can see the full setup, which is, you know, the NR disc is obviously an NR reader. You have a Game Boy Advance here showcasing the Pokemon Center New York logo. You have the writer, and then on screen you have a Gen 3 distribution. Right. And, you know, Allie had mentioned that her contacts were like, okay, well, probably they just wanted it to make, or maybe not probably, but maybe they knew that they just wanted it to look more like a transfer in game. My theory is that they like kind of shot off with a bang initially, and the Pokemon Center in New York had a bunch of funding, and then they realized that people were only attending on weekends and for events, and it's super friggin' expensive to be where they were, and money just started dwindling and dwindling, and I would imagine that the company eventually began to lose confidence. So like, why create this crazy 3D animated thing where like all of these Pokemon
they could have used, I don't remember the timing of when Coliseum came out for when Gen 3 distros started, but like they reused the same models for that game too. So, you know, you could say, oh, they could have just done the same thing, but like, you know, obviously once Gen 3 came around, and we talked about this in the video, like Gen 1 and Gen 2 were really bumping, and then once you hit Gen 3, that's really where, at least in the public eye, it sort of started to drop off a little bit. Like it was still, you know, Pokemon still makes a lot of money for what it is, but like if you're comparing it to, you know, Red and Blue and Yellow, in Gold and Silver and Crystal, like it definitely had dropped off. And, you know, the novelty of that store sort of wore off, and they didn't want to keep up with having to pay for it, essentially.
I'm gonna back you up a little bit there. Are you trying to insinuate that the Pokemon Company or Game Freak or whoever would reuse assets?
What?
Are you trying to tell me that they would try to hold off
crazy talk
on having animated Pokemon in battle or anything 3D or anything the fans have been wanting for like decades until 2019? Are you trying to tell me that? Like, what are you trying to say?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh my God. I do not I like I really enjoyed playing Red back in the day, and I really enjoyed playing Crystal more recently. After this, I got Crystal and I beat it, and it was a ton of fun. But I can't imagine. I find it, let me put it a different way.
Yeah. It's
amazing how dedicated people are to Pokemon when they barely change the formula from game to game.
No,
I mean, it's fun. It is a really fun game, but it's just, it is shocking that
I think for me, like the reason that kind of keeps me like hooked to it is like, it's kind of a lame answer, but like the characters, like all of little, like my favorite Pokemon, like it's like, oh, every game I can like play through with my favorites, because like you know, some of the games are better than others, and some of them I really like and some of them I don't like, but I don't know, I've just been sucked as Tony's just saying it how it is.
Well,
it's interesting.
I feel like 2019 2020, like they've been killing it with Pokemon. Like, you know, the Let's Go was a nice departure. Like Sword and Shield has been selling like bonkers, like crazy, like amount. Like it's doing really well. Pokemon Go was very innovative. I feel like they've really stepped up. But I do think that like Gen 3, like Gen 1 was like, whoa, cool. Like Gen 2 was like, oh, neat. You know, like they've added colors. It's expanded.
Gen 2 basically expands on Gen 1.
Expanded, And then Gen 3 was like, oh, okay, some more some more of this. And then it kind of kept going like that.
Yeah, I see in the chat they kind of just struck gold with the formula from the beginning. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's funny. Yesterday on my stream, we were going through some old Nintendo powers that are on my floor right now. And a lot of the, you know, it was from let's say those like Nintendo powers are from like, you know, Gen 1 of Pokemon up until they had some anniversary for like the 10th anniversary of Pokemon. And it was wild reading it because a lot of those retrospectives are like, you know, wow, we never thought it would last this long. And that, like, yes, they really did. It's the formula, I think, of the game that makes it sort of long standing. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so. It is a very addictive game. And then like I mean, because the opportunity to collect everything, we don't really need to dive into why Pokemon sells well or why it's fun, but I did find myself like just sticking to my party of like what is it, like shinies and legendaries and PCNY, and then just like leveling it up and like just plowing through that game. Like I totally played it wrong, but it was still pretty fun, and the humor was very good. It was very top notch, very enjoyable. But anyways, what the hell were we talking about?
Pokemon
New York.
I'll look at the Google Doc.
So one thing I didn't mention, I'm gonna try to make these a little bit bigger, were the memory cards, which are figuratively and literally the key to get any of this working.
Yes.
So basically, we mentioned that the NR discs that have the software and all the Pokemon and everything, and then we have the hardware to distribute that information from the GameCube to the writer to your cartridge. But each campaign is basically like a snippet, right? Mm-hmm. So they'd have a campaign that was like a monster week. Or they have a campaign that is like a legendary week. They'd have a campaign that's like, I mean, there are just a million of them, realistically. It could be like
dragons.
It could be dragons. It could be a certain type, like water type or this or that or whatever. It could be a certain region. Like a lot of times it would be like a certain cave, or around that.
Oh, yeah.
So it would last for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. And basically the GameCube would have to be set, the internal clock would have to be set to that time, which wouldn't be a problem because you'd be living it in real time at that point in time. But for me, having to shut it down and change the clock and re-upload and blah, 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 it's kind of crazy. But regardless, these memory cards told the software what Pokemon to pick and at what like ratio and percentage to pick them.
And also shiny odds, because in one of the videos there was like I'm blanking. It was like a 1% or 0.1. It was something ridiculous for like shiny Mew or shiny Celebi.
It was like 0.5%.
That's so troll.
Yeah, it was super low.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, it was like something. I just watched this video the other day. I still can't remember, but as you know, I'm sleep deprived. But it was like something like 1.5% for a shiny Celebi and like a 0.5% for a shiny Mew. Like it was super low odds, like real. Like you had to get real lucky.
And Shane in the chat really quick just asked, is it known how many campaigns there were in total? I believe it's all documented on Bulbapedia, if I remember correctly. But Gen 2 and 3 had like a decent chunk of distros for both of them. But so if you want to learn more on that, they have like pretty much, I'm pretty sure almost every single one probably documented on there.
Yeah, and initially there were some of them kind of missing. Yeah. And this allowed a lot of fill-in. So like the Project Pokemon people were able to take this information and fill in a ton of gaps that were somewhat speculative beforehand. Or maybe, we thought the odds were something different, So it was really nice because it was like, you have this group of people that are like insanely passionate about Pokemon, and they were able to go through the code and like literally like data entry in an Excel spreadsheet, like this percentage and this week and that, blah, blah.
Logs too of like, weren't there logs on like the memory cards and stuff?
Trying to remember. I think we theorized that might be the case, but I think that maybe it turned out it wasn't.
I can't remember. Praise good.
Oh, no, because we were trying to figure out why you couldn't put your game card back in Gen 2. Oh. And we thought that maybe there was a log in terms of like what it gave who to, but it was actually recorded on your save file.
Yeah.
So what happens is in Gen 2, you put your cart in, and it's like, oh, you have a save file. You already received one this week. You can't have another one. But that didn't exist in Gen 3.
Yeah.
But basically, there were slot A and slot B cards. So slot A were campaign cards, where it'd be like, okay, it's Ghost Week or this week or that week or whatever. And that's kind of like your your gold with this. Like the more campaign cards you had, which I think we had like 4 in total, and another one was recovered from like lost data, like remnant data. We were able to go through and retrieve these lost Pokemon. And then you have your slot B card, which was kind of just like a turnkey. Yeah. Basically, it told the machine what kiosk or like station it was at, but it was a requirement to have it.
Yeah.
It had to fill in certain information like what machine number and, you know, ABC or what have you.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the slot B cards had to be matched with their appropriate gen, but not a specific campaign.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I rewatched those videos because there's a lot there's a lot of information there.
Memory cards there are, or were.
Yeah. Well,
outside of what we got. Like,
the one I have on screen here, I think this is the one that was overwritten.
Oh, yeah. Well,
do you want to talk about that?
So the person, you know, the guy, you know, we know the guy that helped us out to get this. Apparently his ex-girlfriend wrote over one of the memory cards. What was it, Phantasy Star? It
was Phantasy Star plus a couple other games, but Phantasy Star was a huge save file. Right, so like it was Phantasy Star Online, so it like took out like 80% of the blocks. So it probably would have been possible with the other games that she had, like to just.
Was it Sonic? I remember, was it Sonic and like something else? I can't remember.
There were some Sonic stuff on the memory cards that I captured footage of, just because I happened to have some Sonic stuff on my memory card that I did a physical backup to, so it was unrelated.
Yeah, no, I remember too. He had said that same person. So you guys know, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the video or not, so I'll mention it here, and I might have maybe mentioned it on my stream too. But so you guys know there were like the animatronics and like statues of Pokemon in the store. And a lot of those, you know, once the Pokemon Center closed, and I might have maybe they just destroyed them. Some of them they put into storage to reuse them for like later events, and like nobody really knows what happened to the rest of them, where they are, if they're in some random warehouse in like New York. But apparently, you know, our source had said that same ex, he tried to save like a Caesar statue, which there are pictures of it, I think, in our video and online. He tried to save it, and she was not having it. So,
do you remember how big that was supposed to be?
In the pictures, I mean, it's hard to tell from the pictures, but I would assume it looked like pretty big. Like, I don't know, like half of maybe like my height, or like half of me. I don't know. But I know, it's so depressing. I will never forgive PSO episode 1 and 2.
That's awesome.
It's crazy though.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember he had also said, because they also had in the store, they also had like GameCube like stations with like demos and like Pokemon. They had like N64 like Pokemon Stadium, GameCube like Coliseum. They showed like Coliseum Japanese like demo thing, and like there's so many other crazy things that are associated with PCNY. But I remember he also mentioned there might be a Smash save somewhere in there, because they had Smash there. Because, it had Pokemon in it.
Yeah, I remember that as well now.
Yeah, there's so many other like outside of, you know, even what we covered. There's like what is it, like the Eon ticket like event. There was some e-reader stuff that like I would love for all of that stuff to surface one day as well. But
let's back up a little bit, because according to my notes, I have what else is sort of unresolved, or what else are we working on. So the Eon ticket might be a good one there, which I know that you're more so the point person on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so that, if I remember correctly, another version of that has been preserved, or like a different region, but I don't know if the one that they had at the store is. My memory's hazy on that, just because like I haven't kept up with it in a bit. But yeah, there's that, and then there was also, when the e-reader first came out, they had these sample cards that were used for press events, and some of those actually surfaced on eBay a couple months ago. Somebody messaged me about them, but literally the only difference is that it just says like sample in the bottom right corner, but those cards are like extremely expensive. So find you a girl who would fight for the custody of the Caesar statue. Yes. Oh,
yeah, you know, I think it's important to find. Let's talk about relationships for a minute. I think it's important to find, you don't have to find a significant other who loves the things that you love. You just need to find someone who is supportive of the things that you love, or to some degree will tolerate to a great extent, So, my wife, look at this house. God, would anyone else tolerate this crap? No, of course not. Of course not. So, I think that the individual, his girlfriend, who allegedly did these things, ex-girlfriend, I think he realized that he needed someone in his life who would, love him for who he is and the merch that he wanted.
Yes.
And that girl was not her.
No.
So.
Nope. So
in the chat, find you someone that at least tolerates Pokemon. At the very least. We'll
That's
allow
some
you.
Great advice. I love it.
Tony's love corner is a comment, and there's 5 hearts on it.
This stream should have been renamed to Tony's Love Corner.
Yeah.
He needed a girl who would love him for his Caesar statue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somehow she knew how to erase rare files. Well, you know what? The thing is, she probably needed a memory card. And she's like, hey, you got these memory cards, whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then probably didn't realize that it would, because these the save data on these memory cards are like, it's like nothing. It's like a single block.
It looks so weird.
Yeah.
Like the image, I don't know if you showed it in the video or not, but the image for these memory cards is literally just like some MS Paint placeholder, which I get it. The public wasn't meant to see that, which is kind of cool to now see.
Yeah.
You probably just see that and be like, oh, it's nothing important. Like if you were just a normal.
So she, a normie. But yeah, she probably had it and either he didn't know about it or maybe he did, but didn't realize that Phantasy Star Online would need to wipe it clean, right? Because it's so big and those blocks are so small. She could have had any other game save on there and it wouldn't have needed to erase it. But she probably was like, oh, there's not enough blocks. Format, or whatever.
Yeah.
And she destroyed everything we hold dear.
Oof.
So, some people, I don't know. I'm holding back. I'm holding back here. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna. Okay. I'm not gonna say she'll burn in hell for this. I'm not gonna say it out loud. I'm just trying to find a way to imply it aloud or think it hard enough that you all know what I'm saying, which I already just said. So.
Do you ever get old Pokemon games and see what's saved on it? I like to do that when I've bought a couple. I bought Diamond and Pearl, 2 used copies over the past year, and it's really fun to see what's on it. Because one of my saves had a bunch of hacked shinies, which was kind of funny, and then the other one was just a normal playthrough. So
yeah, just regular old playthrough. Yeah, actually, this is totally unrelated, but for a while I was thinking about doing a project where I'd buy up Game Boy cameras and see what's on them, and then do a montage.
I thought of doing that too.
Yeah, but I kept buying them, and they're kind of not cheap, but they're not super expensive, but they still cost something. But there was most of them were wiped, or they'd be really mundane images or whatever.
I still have high school pictures on mine. It's very cringy. I know someone on Twitter bought a Japanese Game Boy camera, and they tweeted out trying to find the person that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cute. They had a picture of a dog or something on it.
Let us all know in the chat if you want Allie to do a video on her high school Game Boy camera photos.
Around here.
And since they're high school, they're going to be senior photos. She's going to be like this. Doing one of these. I took doing one of these, Although I think that might be more of a guy thing. They had us do this. Yeah, like this, the kind of half grin where you're, So I think that might be a worthwhile venture for Allie to go on. I'm not saying do whatever you want with your channel, but so did want to say, where is everything now? We mentioned the Project Pokemon has all of the content. I have digital saves of everything as a just in case, and then Allie and I both have physical backups of the memory cards as a just in case as well. So we try to spread out the love a little bit in case something were to happen, but also there are many members in the Project Pokemon event research team, and all of them, I'm sure, have various files and such at this point in time. So we will not be will not be lost to time. So
Yeah, I guess the thing that's funny is because since you sent me the backups, I guess for anybody that like doesn't know, like these memory cards the memory cards in the software are like completely useless on a retail GameCube.
Yeah.
So they're trying to work on getting it to work on like a retail cube or a Wii or something like that. But so because I remember I when you first sent them to me, I put them into my GameCube just to see, and I think it yelled at me because it was like it wasn't compatible.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of funny. PSO,
Yeah, there was a lot of things going
it must
on.
be stopped.
There were a lot of things going on, both in terms of it being an NR, but also Japanese region versus
stuff.
US
Yeah,
region, because they were able to sort of like swap things back and forth on an NR reader. So you can just kind of like swap region between Japanese and US, and it's not a big deal. So like, who cares what the NR disk is written in? You just go into the machine, and whatever, you go from there, and you probably have an infinite supply of memory cards that you can write to. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
But for us, it's like a kind of a pain in the butt to like tinker and like to do all the settings and get, I don't know, mess around with it in that capacity.
Yeah.
Especially since like with me, I'm less in the code, and it was more like the physicality of everything, having to swap settings and do all of those things. One thing I do want to mention, there's a little surprise. Should I mention the little surprise here? Okay, so I still am in sort of the beta part of researching all this, and that I've done no research yet. But you guys may remember Japan used to have these like Pokemon wrapped painted planes where you have like a Pikachu jet, right? And you could go on.
Flown on that.
What's that?
I wish I could have flown on.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like
There'd
they
be
had
no opportunity for me because I'm not Japan.
Yeah. So basically you could ride on the Pikachu Pokemon jet. And like I remember seeing images of these things from back in the day, and like it was just like this wild Pokemania sort of thing where it's like the full airplane is outfitted with Pokemon like everywhere, just printed on it everywhere. So anyways, they occasionally did little contests on board, and you could win an N64. And our friend Andrew, who, if you watch my show, he lends a bunch of stuff to us, and it's always very appreciated. But he sent us this N64, which is very rare.
Tony thought it was a private Pokemon themed jet. That's what chat said. You have a jet.
Oh yeah, I'm like, was it a private jet? No, it shouldn't have been. And I'm like, oh no, I don't have a private. Okay, yeah, yes, I'm gonna take the camera to my backyard with my private Pokemon jet right here.
Come over.
Yeah, come on over, and we'll just take care of business. So this was the N64 that they gave out. This is the name of the company, and then this is the unfortunately placed graphic right here that makes this seem like it's spelled like something else in English. But I don't think that was the intention. I think it was just supposed to be ANA. But anyways, we have the super rare N64. I'm sorry, I had to say it, otherwise someone in the chat would say it. Like, I could not. I'm embarrassing Allie, I'm sorry.
You think they could have put it on the front?
No, they could put it. Like they could have put it here, but it was a Japanese company, so like it was a translation thing. Like they never. I don't think they would have ever.
Gotta take the L. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, if they had any foresight or knowledge of the English language, they should have put this graphic literally anywhere else on their logo. But this was their logo at the time, and this is a very rare N64 because this was one, I guess, on a Pokemon airplane, right?
It's very specific, like
super
how
specific.
to get it.
Yeah, like very, very specific. Is there anything different about it? No.
It's literally just the memory thing.
Yeah. It's just the little latch for the jumper pack or the memory expansion.
Yeah.
That's it. But it has a history in that this thing was won by some lucky individual flying on this plane, and then was won off of a Yahoo Japan's auction. And now us as English speakers could be like, what the hell? But that wasn't the intention. It was just supposed to be, what it was. We're all obviously in middle school giggling about this, but such is the nature of these things, I guess. I'm going to read the comments here real quick.
Oh, it's still their logo, apparently.
Oh, it's still there. Oh, well, good for them. They probably realized by now and stuck with it.
Stuck. Biggest airline in Japan, huh?
Oh, it is a big. Okay. Well, as I
Imagine
mentioned,
using it to add an expansion pack.
oh,
Ooh, that would suck.
yeah.
Because nothing else is different about it, right?
No, nothing else is different to my knowledge. Again, I'm in the early stages of research, and that Andrew told me what it was.
Yeah.
And this morning I thought, hey, wouldn't it be nice if I included this in the panel?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah,
So-
you think they would have added, because like they did Pokemon N64s. You think they would add even just like a little like Pikachu decal or something at the very least?
Well,
but
you would think. However, have you ever known airlines to go above and beyond
No.
when it comes to customer service? I mean, maybe the Japanese airlines, but at least in the U.S., it's garbage. So, like, I could definitely see them going the most lazy way about it. It'd be like, marketing wants us to give these away. What's the cheapest part of the N64 that we can buy in bulk or whatever? Like, that lid, and then just be like, all right, slap them on, like, whatever.
Come on there, man.
Yeah, so, but I mean, it's a neat little piece of history. It's not as crazy as Pokemon Center New York, and it'll be a lot easier of a video to do.
Yeah.
But still kind of a fun little thing.
You get a free N64. Don't argue. Yeah, if you go on.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Technically, if you paid for your flight ticket, I guess it's like is it complimentary or is it the price of the flight ticket? That's the real question.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, apparently, these things nowadays, like even I don't know if it was specifically eBay or.
Look at the game. I've seen that before. There's a
yeah.
color that they did.
That's really cool.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, that is. That's like the colors match with the logo
If
and
only
everything.
they did like make it like the ice blue N64 and put
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I should pay time to time travel, time to go back.
Yeah, and I don't know if this came in like a box, like that had the logo on it, like the Game Boy Colored. I really have no idea yet. Actually, consolevariations.com would probably know. I'll contact Donnie from them. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll ask him about it. But yeah, so no, it's certainly interesting, and I think nowadays these run for like $400 or $500.
It's crazy. Like I know it's a special like variation. It's rare, but the fact that it's only the little lid, like I think it's hilarious.
It's wild what collectors will pay for, which is again
why color though is awesome.
Yeah, but like people were paying hundreds of dollars for PCNY Pokemon transfers and trades. You know what I mean? Before us, flood the black market, make it worth nothing. So anyways, sorry if you had one you were going to sell and, send your kid to college.
I guess for context, for people that maybe don't know or aren't as involved in the community, but you bringing up the whole like black market thing, like as you guys probably know, if you're in a retro gaming convention, there's people that like to hoard stuff like prototypes and everything. The same thing goes for like event Pokemon. It's a very similar, unfortunately, a very similar like situation, and also too, I think you were talking about this probably in your panel before this, but sort of the divide between like the English communities and the Japanese communities goes for like event it's a bit similar. I think maybe with like the Pokemon stuff, I've seen some like collaboration, but it's definitely just because the language barrier, and I feel like at least in Japan they seem to be a lot more like protective of stuff. You sometimes see that sort of stuff preserved, but I can confirm that N64 came in a standard Japanese box.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. Cool.
So, sorry for a second. I had to click out of our live page because it started playing the volume.
Oh, no.
Again, and then now it's playing my previous... I was playing my previous panel, so I don't have access to the chat.
Before started, I had to like refresh.
Yeah, like I don't know what's it says nothing's happening here. The broadcast has started. Please click play. And now it's okay. It must be a link. I must have had like a link specifically to my panel. Yeah. Oh geez, that was a little sloppier than this one. I think we're a little more organized than me and my boys. we were kind of wild. Anyways, we're kind of approaching the end here, but Allie, was there anything that you wanted to say? Was there anything like pending that you're still researching or people talking to you about, or is it mostly tied up?
Yeah, I just know that all of our Project Pokemon friends, they're still working on stuff. They have, like we said, they have everything, which is really awesome that we were able to do that, because those are the people that you would want to have the actual hardware and the people that actually care about it, as opposed to some random hoarders. So that's really nice. But they're basically like trying to get it to work on like retail stuff. Did they do the contest yet? We're gonna pick the winner probably tomorrow or Monday, just because we're gonna let people like be able to get their entries in and stuff. And I have a panel right after this, so you guys should go watch it in like 5 minutes. I'm doing like Q&A. But also just so people can get their entries in, and just so us, like, we have panels and stuff going on and life. So we'll probably get to it. If you win, just check your email in like 2 days, basically.
Yeah, I think Monday would be good. I'm painting my living room tomorrow. It's a lovely shade of off green. It's a slightly warm with a yellow. My wife said she loved it. Then I did a streak on the wall, and she's like, yeah, it's good. And then I bought it. About 4 gallons of it, and she's like, yeah, I don't think I like it very much anymore. And then she's like, no, it's okay. I'm like, what? Throw me a bone here. Okay, so anyways, I know you got to prep for your next panel here, but really appreciate everybody joining us. Again, I don't have access to the chat right now, but if anything comes up, if there are any questions, Allie, just obviously I'll have you quarterback that. But if you want to check out my channel, I'm Hard4Games. I'm found primarily on YouTube, but I'm on all the socials and such. And Allie, if you wanted to plug yourself as well.
So I mainly stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Allie, A-L-I. I'm also on YouTube as Retro Allie, Twitter, Retro Allie, with a 0 instead of an O, as you can see above me. Instagram, Retro Alley with a 0 instead of an O. And yeah, for the contest, somebody just asked, email your collection either to Tony, his email's on there, or my email, or both of us. Just email us Pokemon collection, and we'll pick somebody who has some really cool stuff. And if you guys have any questions that you think of, again, like I said, I have a panel right after this in like one of the breakout rooms, so feel free to come by and say hi. I'm just going to be just doing like a casual, just ramble Q&A, whatever. So maybe I actually grabbed my Game Boy camera, so maybe we'll talk about that. So
that should be pretty good. That should be pretty good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and thanks to UPLINK for allowing us to have this panel and hosting us. It's really appreciated. It was a lot of fun. First time doing like a digital panel, so it's very interesting. Well, that's all I had. Allie, was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm good. Thanks for having us. It was super fun, and thanks for everybody for showing up, because I'm glad. I was like, oh my God, what if nobody shows up? I'm scared.
It's just me and Allie talking to each other about Pokemon, just stuff we already know. I do want to do a quick shout out. If anyone's interested in more information regarding the Pokemon Center in New York, there's the PokemonCenterNewYork.com, which is a fan-led unofficial site. It's run by Grace and Julie, and they've spent a lot of time collecting history regarding pretty much all the aspects of the center, whereas this is a little bit more focused just on the distribution, like the technical. But they have a lot of info regarding like the whole encompassment of, that's not the right way to say it, but the whole thing and the whole store. So check that out if you're interested as well. All right, I guess I'll stop the stream here, and thank you again for joining us.